Hi, and welcome to Coach's Corner, where systems matter and both personal and professional learning and development is beneficial for everyone and essential for some. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, we're back with Brett Zandis, or better known as Coach Little Z23. And with today's topic is actually knowing thyself, or knowing oneself, knowing yourself. And actually, no one better to learn it from, in my opinion, than this man right here. The amount of people that he's helped to know themselves is pretty incredible, which is why he calls it the incredible individual. I can remember the multiple times that we've talked about it, just knowing myself and having to, go through those trials and tribulations. As father and son, but also as athlete, coach, or the different people he's had to do it with his mom, his fellow employees. I mean, what he's done here is impressive because it makes it very simple to learn and to do, to know yourself. But it is difficult, right? I mean, you're gonna have to look at the mirror and see the blemishes that no one wants to see and the specks of dust where they fall. So before we get started and go into that, is there anything you would like to say?
Well, as lovers too.
Yeah.
You're looking pretty good in that shirt.
Thank you.
Fake silk. The filk shirt. So, we've talked about how do all these things come together over 20 or 25 years. And this is one that was part of our leadership program. Mm-hmm. And so we call it layered leadership. And so we say, start with yourself, mm-hmm. right? And know thyself. And we count the whole thing as you being an incredible individual.
Right.
So you start with yourself, and then we teach them the holistic system, and then we teach them the individual system. So then that's, like one unit. And then we say no others, mm-hmm. right? And so we call that being, like a partner or buddy system. Mm-hmm. So it'd be just you and one other.
Okay.
Right. And then we go into the third part of that, which is as a group or as a team, depending on what you want to call it, whether it's personal or professional. Mm-hmm. So we do this with, people personally. We also do it with corporations and companies and businesses. So we could do it with parents or groups,
yes.
all the way through. And then we go out a little bit further and we say, how does this work in the bigger picture of being, a community member? Mm-hmm. But I think what we're going to talk about today is how to be an incredible individual. Mm-hmm. And that starts with knowing thyself. And then I think we'll talk probably about a couple systems that we kind of clump that together.
Yeah.
And I think, if we've talked about this many a time, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it systemic and same, similar patterns and stuff. Mm-hmm. So right now, at this moment in time, St. Patrick's Day 2021,
yeah,
we're a collection of, right?
Yes.
So you're a collection of your DNA/genetics, you're a collection of your environment, and then you're a collection of circumstances and experiences. Mm-hmm. And I like to say experiences happen regularly, and then circumstances are here, there, or whatever.
Right.
Some of you gets hit by they don't always have to be negative, but usually they, are, something that's a kind of a one and done, or, a cathartic moment or different things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so that's where we start with people. We say, just like what we do with kids when we're teaching them, we ask them, what do they already know? We call it prior knowledge. Mm-hmm. What do you already know about baseball?
Yeah.
And they go, blah, 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 blah. And then, as I've said before, we've already played King and Queen of the World. So if they say, well, you use a bat, you run around the bases, da-da-da, and I, want to talk about home runs, grand slams, and singles, I would say, well, what about, right? We go through all of that. And so I think being an incredible individual is difficult sometimes. But I think if you can systematize it, it makes it so simple. It makes it easy. It makes it a lot less difficult. How about that?
Right, gotcha. So, you kind of explained what knowing thyself is.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's difficult for people to really know themselves? So why do you think people know themselves but really don't know or why do you think people think they know themselves, but then when you really get down into it, they really don't know themselves?
Well, think about it, right? So, let's talk about, young kids, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say like maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, so enough about life to know you have a pimple on your face and that people are going to judge you. right? So when you're 3 and 4, if you think about in the Bible, they say, as you know, act like a kid.
Yeah.
Because we're, you know, you don't care if you have a pimple on your face. You got dirt in your mouth. You're running around. You're doing all that. And so, do you really need to know yourself when you're young? No, because you're just doing and being and whatevering, you know. But as you get older, you start to realize, like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, if I'm really this way, if I'm knowing myself in this way, and that's extremely negative, then most people don't want to admit that, let alone do the work into it. You know, we've talked about patterns of change and different things of that nature.
Yeah.
So what do? They go, yeah, I'm not an alcoholic, right? I mean, I've talked to my friends before, and I'm like, dude, you're an alcoholic. And they're like, no, I'm not. And I said, dude, there's several types of alcoholics. You know, there's a person that drinks maybe once, you know, a month. But once they start drinking, they can't stop until they're plastered on the ground. Yeah. Well, who wants to admit that?
Right.
Who wants to admit? I mean, I don't want to admit that I'm getting my butt kicked on overeating.
Right.
I don't want to admit that. Right? I mean, I've been successful at almost everything in my whole life I've beat. And I cannot figure this out to this point. Now, I will figure it out, but to this point. Well, who wants to say that to themselves, let alone to, you know, the 3 views we're getting on YouTube, right? So what happens is that we play tricks and we start to suppress these things about who we are, or we inflate, like, you know, like you were saying, you and I, we used to watch American Idol, the family. Yeah. And those people would get on there and can't sing a lick. Like, I can sing better than you and I can't sing a lick. And they really thought they were good. Yeah. And you're like, wow. So I think there's the extremes of not admitting, you know, of who you are and knowing yourself, and then thinking that you're all that in a bag of rocks or chips, as you know, as my mom always says, a bag of rocks, which we laugh at. And so I think it's usually people are on the poles on that. And I play it right down the middle. I'm like, this is who I am. I am flawed. I already know that I'm done because that Bible's told me I'm done. And so then why am I, you know, I have a lot of opinions, but I don't judge anybody else. Who am I to judge? I'm dung. That's crap. Yeah. In case anybody know what dung is, right? So if I'm crap, how am I going to judge somebody else? Oh, well, you're crap too, but your crap smells better than my crap. It's perfumey. Right. Is that a word? Perfumey? Yeah. Crap. And so I think it's usually the polls on why people either don't know themselves or think they know themselves and they really don't. Because who would want to admit that they're getting their butt kicked? Yeah. I don't. Right. And I'm ultra competitive. But even if you're not ultra competitive, you don't want to admit your downfalls or the things that you're bad at. Who wants to come out and say, you know, hi, I'm Jim, I'm a child molester, or I have a porn addiction, or whatever. Right. And it's bad enough if it's only, you know, hurting you. Yeah. But if it's also hurting others, like my eating doesn't per se hurt you, right? Now, if I don't get it straight and it takes my life earlier than I was supposed to go, then it could hurt you. Yeah. Or maybe you just get a bunch of money and you'll be happy. But, you know, I mean, it really doesn't hurt you. But if I have a porn addiction that says I'm going to go cheat on my wife, well, that hurts her and it hurts the whole family. Because probably there's going to be a divorce. And, you know, I mean, it goes on and on. And that's why I always like to say, what's going to happen, you know, 19 ripples down the road when the pebble hits? So as my 23-year-old son, when he does a gainer off of, you're like, you thought I was off of that. I'm not, right?
Off a small house.
I don't care, right? Was it a dog house? No, it was an actual house. It was a small house. But anyway, you know, so I think that people just don't want to face it. And I'm okay with facing it, both the good things I do and the bad things. But, you know, I don't care what that person says about me. I'm already my worst critic. Yeah. So if you want to call me a donkey or a jackass or whatever, I'm like, whatever. You know, as long as you're not calling my wife or kids that, then, you know, or my peeps, which is a bunch, 47 million or whatever, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So why do you think, what is the benefits from knowing yourself like you do?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's that you're able to make choice, and choice is to me the biggest thing ever.
Okay.
So if I say, "Hi, I'm an alcoholic,"
Yeah.
or "Hi, I'm a great basketball player," I mean, it can be good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Or it can be in between. "Hey, I'm a mediocre singer,"
Mhm.
whatever it is. I think it allows you to make decisions or choice on what do you want to do about that,
Okay.
right? So, I cuss like a sailor. Nobody would know that I'm here because I try to keep it down, and it's something that I would like to be able to beat, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that just because that I do that, if I don't admit that,
Mhm.
then I have zero chance to make a choice, patterns of change,
Yeah.
to beat it.
Right.
So if I know and I'm self-aware of both my shortcomings or my downfalls, as well as my strengths and positives, then either way, or even something in the middle, but that's not usually where I play.
Yeah.
I usually play on the ends, and I'll say, based off of that, I can make a decision. Do I want to do something about it? Well, it's obvious I can do something about it because I don't say many curse words for YouTube or the audio podcast or whatever.
Right.
I never cussed with the young kids when I was teaching and coaching in the classroom, right?
Yeah.
Now the older kids,
Yeah, you lay with.
because you can get away with it because they're cussing more than you are, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But I also have talked about that just on a side note. Whoever invented that, mother effer is the worst word in the history of the world. Could have been light bulb just as easy. So, but anyway, you know how I feel about that. But yeah, I don't want to get off topic, but I think that those are the things that are critically important. It gives you an outlet and a choice, either direction, to either do something about it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when it comes to what I would call asking the questions about yourself, right? Because you have to question, I think, maybe you'll tell me different, what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that's, who you are. Is that correct?
Yeah, because we don't, I mean, if you really think about it, most people are either on one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
They're the American Idol person who can't freaking sing a
Yeah.
lick and think they're, Carrie Underwood or whatever, right? Or you get the Carrie Underwoods that were so humble and like, really? Like, I have a gift? Like, we're watching the new season of American Idol.
Yeah.
I told you I don't watch TV other than
Yeah.
when I sit down with my wife, we have dinner, and she likes to watch these programs.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're watching that, and some of these people are like angels, dude.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the judges, and the judges are like, I've never heard anything like that. Well, if Lionel Richie tells you,
Yeah.
like, you're amazing, he probably been around a few angelic singers, and they don't even know because they're so humble.
Yeah.
And so, well, who usually wins that battle? Is it the arrogant person that is completely wrong about how great they are and they really suck?
Yeah.
And who likes those people?
Right.
Do you want to hang around anybody like that?
No.
No, I want to hang around the talented person
Yeah.
that brings tears to your eyes, and they're humble. They don't even know how great they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to be able to hang around.
Yes, absolutely. And so when you ask these questions, do you want to be doing those one-on-one with someone you trust, with someone you don't know? Who would you go to, or how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I say start with yourself first, ask the questions.
Okay.
Who am I, right? And I do it in a very systemic way.
Mhm.
So I bring in the holistic system, which I know we'll talk about in
Yeah.
a little bit, but we'll talk about, spiritual, religious, family, friends, personal, social, career, material. I'll look at it in the individual system, mindset, getting organized, so on and so forth. I'll look at it based off of my goals. I'll look at it based off of my attitude. I'll look at it based off, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
So whatever I deem and am able to look at holistically, that's what I'm going to do is ask those questions. How do I feel about it? It's kind of like the thoughtful advancement thing, right?
Yeah.
So here's the data. Well, how do I feel about it? I just yelled at that guy because he cut out in front of me. Well, how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a dichotomy sometimes. Well, I feel good because I try to teach him a lesson so he wouldn't kill somebody else
Yeah.
or kill somebody.
Mhm.
But you feel bad because maybe my approach wasn't that great. And so, as I've said before, I don't care if you yell at me. I don't care if you yell, scream, cuss, whatever. I listen to the message, not the delivery.
Right.
Right? I get all that madness out of the way, and I go, what are you really saying?
Mhm.
If you're saying something that's great and smart and whatever, I want to listen to it. Doesn't mean I always apply it, but at least I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
And so I think that, when you talk about those types of things, that you start with yourself first, question. Then you go ask one person, whoever you feel could, that'll be straight up with you, that'll be straightforward, that's intelligent, that, knows you well, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think you would open it up to, another group of 3 to 5 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be very vulnerable, you could ask 7, 10, 12, 14 strangers, not true strangers. They'd have to know you and get their input, because sometimes, as you would know, you're so close to yourself, you're like, maybe I'm missing a few things, or your mom or whatever. They talk about that with weight loss.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I lost 20 pounds, and your wife doesn't even recognize you. She's with you every day. You go see a buddy you haven't seen in too much. Like, dang, dude.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, where'd you go? Where'd your baby go?
Right. Yeah, that's funny. And so when it goes from, you talking to yourself, and then you go to someone that you trust, so I'm assuming that it's not always the first one, right? Like, meaning like, hey, I'm an alcoholic. It's usually something above there, or they say something above there, and then it gets to the real meat of it, right?
Well, it depends. It depends how well they know you. It depends how well you know yourself. I mean, the way I would explain that is you have the weed.
Yeah.
Right, and then but you have the root,
right,
and then you may have some stuff around the weed, nut grass or whatever, you know what I mean? And so what you're talking about is sometimes you get to the root, which is where you want to always be. But remember, it's not a singular root, right? So you may be an alcoholic, a porn addict, you may be able to sing like an angel, right? All the positives, all the negatives, and then some of the in-betweens, right? And so like you and I've talked about a million times, I would talk about your guys' C's, but mainly I want to talk about your A's, or for you in the pole vault. Let's go get points there. You're already going to lap the field. And that's why I still laugh about it. I could say it 100 times. They wouldn't even know you were in the race, right? Until the 7th event. And then all of a sudden you would launch yourself in the 3rd or 4th place. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the 1500, you won. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It just tickled me, because I'm like, you guys aren't even thinking about this kid. He's going to come up and wax you. Right? It's the little guy, the little guy looks like he can't fight. He knocks you out, so to speak. But I think it's, I think a lot of times that's what we do is we chop the top of the weed, but we don't get to the root. And until you get to the root of whatever those are, whatever the continuum is, your worst, most negative thing, or your positive, or anywhere in between, then I think that it becomes, a facade, which anytime, you're in a facade land, that American Idol singer that thinks they can sing and they can't, you're in big trouble, because you have to uncover all of that to get to, hi, I can't sing.
Right.
So that's why I say the people that go, hi, I can't sing, we don't need to uncover anything else.
Right.
You're at the root of the problem. Now you may have to go deeper to say, why is that? Right? So like me, we're talking about weight today, me being fat, PHAT. Why is that? Because I don't like waste. Why don't I like waste? Because I was a heck of an athletic kid, but I wasn't big enough at the time. But somebody should have grabbed me and said, dude, you're going to be phenomenal when you get bigger. Unless you stay 4'1" the rest of your life, because you're fast, you're a hardhead, you're strong as heck, you got hops, right? They should have grabbed me. Yeah. Nobody did that. So they wasted my talent. That's why I'm on a mission to make sure nobody else gets wasted. But where does that hurt? So there's the positive. Yeah. So you can take the same thing. What's the negative? I'll eat every doggone thing on my plate, and even stuff from leftovers. I don't even like that crap. But I don't want to waste the food. Right. So that's where I've got to learn. So it's not like I can't beat it, but I got to beat the root of the problem, which is not just, I'm kind of feeling hungry. It's a psychological part of it. And that's where it becomes extremely difficult. I know it, but I still don't beat it. Well, at least I know it. Right. At least I'm not like, I do think I'm kind of muscular, but you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
If you need to contact Brett or Coach, please do so on his social media accounts, email, and or text. You can find that information in the description below. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Thanks, and we hope you enjoyed.
You don't agree with that?
No, I
So
don't
if
think.
someone left a bunch of golf clubs at your house for the rest of eternity, aren't they yours?
No, I'd be dead.